Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the season finale of Series 5 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series live tonight for the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. James Knight, the voice of Podium Esports, here alongside Ted Verse and our producer Ryan Bauer, powered by Top Flight Computers, as we bring the curtain down on what could be considered the most competitive season of PCA sim racing yet. We've had a tremendous amount of action across the board in tracks across the United States, Canada, Japan, and now we come to Florida, to the World Center of Racing, and one of the most famous road courses of them all, the road course at Daytona International Speedway, to cap the season off, Taylor.
It certainly is. I'm looking forward to this race all season, not only because it's my home track, but this is going to be providing a lot of great, exciting racing throughout the duration of tonight's races, all across all the classes here tonight. So, James, I'm looking forward to it, but we got a couple of things we also got to talk about here before we get the show on the road.
Plenty of things that we can talk about, but one thing that we need to talk about, because it's one person that we talked to, and a very important person at that. We had the pleasure to sit down with Vice President of Marketing for Hagerty and also a competitor in this challenge class that you're going to see momentarily, Justin Moreno. Had the chance to chat with us earlier this week, so we'll turn it over to Justin and hear some of his thoughts on PCA sim racing. We are now joined by the Vice President of Marketing for Hagerty. Justin Moreno now joins us on tonight's PCA broadcast for the season finale from Daytona International Speedway. And Justin, you've been racing a lot in PCA sim racing this year, but of course, in order to race in PCA sim racing, you must first be a PCA member. So how did you get involved with the Porsche Club of America?
Big time fan of the brand. I think I used to fall asleep to a poster of a slant nose growing up, but I think my family and I got into it. We started the obsession personally with a 2009 Cayenne, and then we kind of worked our ways up through the 981 Cayman, and then a Cayman S, and then we never looked back. So it's a little bit of an addiction in our family.
What brought you to make the leap from regular PCA activities to PCA sim racing? I'm guessing the Cayman had some influence, especially Series 5, but what else about PCA sim racing appealed to you and made you make the leap and jump in?
Well, funny enough, it's actually largely due to two of the other drivers on the Team Hagerty roster this year. Both Jim Patek and Doug Metzel both have pretty robust rigs, and I saw Doug Metzel improved drastically after he had set up his and started using it. I used to be able to keep up with him at DE events and autocross events, and now he just does circles around me. So I figured if he was able to translate so much of that from sim racing to the real life, I better get on board as well.
Sounds like you've had a really fun experience in the challenge class this year, no?
Yeah, it's definitely been an experience. It's been incredibly entertaining. Learned a ton. I actually had the opportunity to do a couple of real life laps this year, kind of after I'd started the sim racing, and it was interesting to see how much of that experience and things that I learned I was able to translate directly into the real life, and it improved my time dramatically.
Team Hagerty, you mentioned it very briefly just a bit ago, and it's one piece of Hagerty's involvement with PCA sim racing, which is new this year. So what appealed to PCA sim racing in Hagerty's eyes, and what convinced them to get on board with their support of PCA sim racing?
Yeah, no, it's I think you've probably heard a number of the Hagerty team members, even McKeel himself, say that our core mission is to save and safeguard driving for future generations. And motorsports and the motorsports community, it's one of the most passionate and motivated groups within the larger enthusiast community. So we want to do whatever we can to support the hobby wherever and however enthusiasts, choose to participate, either in sim or in real life. And so whether that's, helping enthusiasts find events in their area through, our product and our partner Motorsport Reg, or the various pieces of technology and tools that they have for streamlining the processes and workflows for event organizers, or through our insurance products, or through our hosted track days or driving education programs. We want to do whatever we can to support participation in the hobby, support that passion, and also support clubs like PCA who share in our mission.
Let's talk about now and tonight's and the things that Haggerty is doing that are special for the very end of the season. First off, the Dribbled to Excellence Award that Haggerty is presenting tonight. Tell the folks watching a little bit more about what we can expect out of that.
Yeah, so had a really interesting idea come from Doug and from Jim. This idea of how do we go beyond just the podium to really recognize someone for their special capabilities and what they've been able to accomplish this year. So in working with the PCA, we've landed in this concept of the Driven to Excellence Award, and what we really want to do is highlight a driver within each of the 4 classes that really exemplifies the true spirit of Haggerty through their driving, through their professionalism, through their courtesy to other drivers, and of course their performance. So, at the end of the series, we're going to be, or the data guru, as it's been described from the PCA, we're going to be looking at, who is the highest finishing driver within each of the 4 classes, who's also had the least number of incidents, participated in all 8 races, and also had the least number of penalties. I think it really, exemplifies the professionalism and the courtesy, and again, that true spirit of Haggerty. So we wanted to recognize the individuals that have been able to kind of stand out in those ways.
And in addition to that, we're also going to see a few VIP Haggerty's Drivers Club memberships handed out over the course of the evening, I believe, no?
Yes, correct. We're very happy to announce, that we'd like to offer up 1 year of the Haggerty Drivers Club VIP membership to all the podium finishers across all 4 classes. It's something that we typically reserve. So, for when we're at things like Scottsdale and we see a potential brand ambassador, like a Pat Long, for example, we typically hand those out to those types of folks. But, given the talent and the effort and the drive that the various drivers across the classes have really dedicated to this series, we wanted to recognize that effort. So, all 3 podium finishers in all 4 classes will be receiving the VIP membership for a year. They'll be receiving 6 issues of our award-winning Haggerty Drivers Club magazine, access to all of our exclusive content, live streams around things like car values and history and do-it-yourself tutorials. We also have a ton of automotive discounts from across the industry, a deal of the week program, guaranteed flatbed towing that can be extended to the entire household for the HDC member. And we also have a special program right now where HDC members get access to Motor Trend streaming service as well for a year. So we're very excited to offer that up, again, to all the podium finishers across all 4 classes.
A tremendous commitment, I think. Justin Moreno, Vice President of Marketing for Haggerty, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on a solid debut season in the Challenge class. We look forward to seeing what you and Team Haggerty and Haggerty have to offer us over the course of this evening.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
A tremendous thank you to Justin Moreno, the Vice President of Marketing for Haggerty, for his time earlier this week. We now turn it over to our Taylor Burris for our track overview. We'll ride along and see how you went to get around Daytona International Speedway best.
Welcome to Daytona International Speedway. We're going to be on board with Michael Patterson of the Longhorn region from the PCA Club class, as we are now at full speed, dropping it down to about 3rd gear here as we see him going into turn number 1 as he now dropped to the 2nd gear. Setting up for turns 2 and turns 3, you have to be so careful because the pit exit is just to your left right there. So you have to be careful of cars coming off exit, and they have the right of way. Now entering into one of the famous corners, the International Horseshoe. Hug that inside line as you track out. You want to be careful of wheel spin through that corner because it's very easy to do that. Back up through the gears. You're now coming up to the small little kink right here. You're going to take that flat out before you set up for the Western Horseshoe. Brake around when you hit those orange cones as you then try to get to the inside, hit the apex as you track out. Another corner where you have to be careful with wheel spin. Very easy to lose the car coming off corner exit as you're now coming up to turn number 6, the in and out. This corner here can be very treacherous as you try to hug that inside line. Watch out for tire spin as well as you try to track up to the wall and then dive it down to that yellow line. Now, lap cars will need to try to hold this yellow line to the best of their ability, as faster cars with the lead lap cars will be taking the outside groove. That is something that a lot of the race leaders prefer to have happen to them in order to set up for what is going to be the Daytona Super Stretch and heading to the bus stop chicane. You're going to be hitting speeds close to about 150 miles an hour before braking right at that yellow light, flashing light. dropping it down to about third gear, clipping each of the curbs. You're going to try and make sure to hug those curbs. Watch out for cutting course penalties. We'll see a lot of those happen here tonight. Now heading up through the gears once again through NASCAR 3 and 4. This is an excellent time to utilize the slipstream here to try and draft with your competitors around the this major circuit here at Daytona International Speedway. As you come down the front straightaway here for the final time, it is night conditions here, so you have to be careful. Make sure you keep an eye on your vision and listen to your spotters as you come across the line for lap 1 of your 40-minute race or 30-minute race here at Daytona.
It's going to be very intriguing to see how things play out over the course of the next, shall we call it 4 hours and change or so. Plenty of racing to come your way and plenty of fun festivities to come your way, this being the final race of the season. But for now, time to turn to the starting grid and tell you where your favorite driver will begin this evening. Ian Simon, your pole sitter tonight, with a qualifying time of 1 minute and 53.416 seconds ahead of Chris Siborowski. John Crook starts third tonight, and Justin Moreno, who you just saw a few moments ago, top qualifier for Team Haggerty as well. He'll start fourth. Fifth will be the 443 of Robert Rose. Ken Nielsen starts tonight from the 6th position. Seventh will be the 27 of Ken Tubman, winner of the second race of the season at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Chris Piven starts 8th. 9th belongs to Aaron Ambrosino. 10th on the grid to the 28 car of Daniel Rubel.
Starting in 11th will be the 20 of Trip Starkey, followed by Ed Eisenring in the 929 in 12th. In the 13th position, you'll find Brian Giddinelli, and then in 14th, Jason Sherwood. Jose Rivas will be starting from the 15th position, followed by J.R. Gregory in 16th. Scott Ferris will be starting in 17th position, followed by Anker Bergson in 18th. 19th will be Jeff Rosenthal, followed by your top 20, Kim Frick.
21st on the grid is Scott Rogers. David Purdy starts from 22nd. 23rd is the 10 of John Bradley. Olin Murphy starts 24th. 25th belongs to Mark Granoff. Abraham Jones starts 26th. 27th is Scott McSherry. Michael Burgoyne starts 28th. 29th to Robert Benson. Jim Hennick 30th. Andrew McCune and John Arcilla round out our 32-car grid for the challenge class presented by Haggerty. We quickly look at the track facts before we go green flag racing. This is the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway from Daytona Beach, Florida. We're on the road course. It's a 3.56 mile, 5.73 kilometer circuit with 11 turns. We race at sunset local time. It's the default day for iRacing in the sim, May 15th, 2020, right around 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, local time. These drivers will race for 30 minutes in the challenge class, 40 minutes for the rest of the evening. Temps are balmy, to say the least. 64 degrees Fahrenheit air temperature, 66 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature. Winds headed to the east at 10 miles an hour, and humidity is surprisingly low, 31% for this beachside race. We're not terribly far away from the Atlantic Ocean. We are very glad you are watching Podium Esports coverage of Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series 5, Round 8. The season finale is go from Daytona, and it is Ian Simon who gets us off and running. The points leader will lead us off into that quasi-double apex corner that leads us off into the infield portion of the course, and Simon will pace this field as they head towards the International Horseshoe for the first time.
So far, Ian Simon has pulled it out to an exceptional lead right now. The next battle would have to be for second, as John Croak and Chris Siborowski will go side by side into the International Horseshoe. As Siborowski has the inside lane advantage, he will do that. A couple of cars go a little bit wide. Chris Pippen hits the grass, almost makes contact with a couple of drivers. That looks like to be the 27 of Ken Tubman, but no harm, no foul. Continue racing 3 wide, actually, through that little straightaway before they get to the key.
You can only do 3 wide for a little bit before you get to the dog leg in the middle of the infield section. It's a very narrow, sharp left-hand corner. It almost by default forces you to go single file by that point. So this track very quickly filters down into a single file racetrack, at least until you get to NASCAR turn 1, which is where Ian Simon finds himself with Chris Siborowski in tow. Siborowski's had plenty of pace, but also plenty of bad luck over the past few weeks, and I know he'd like to try and turn that around with a victory to cap off Series 5 in the challenge class presented by Haggard.
He certainly would. Right now, he's sitting about 0.2 of a second back from Ian Simon as they go down the Daytona Superstretch, heading towards the bus stop chicane. Making to the braking zone, they now hit it, and they will go nose to tail right now and have a little bit of a gap as John Croak will skip the corner and miss it, and hard contact for Robert Rose into the tire barrier. His night is done as he will fall and make a tow to pit road here momentarily.
Robert Rose with a heavy hit off into the barrier over in the bus stop on the back straightaway. It was a massive hit for the 443 car, who I think just locked it up and couldn't correct it in time. You could see how much weight was leaning on the right side of his cabin, and he just could not correct it in time and basically went head on into the tire barrier. Big shunt for the 443, and that will automatically kill his opportunity at a good finish in tonight's race.
Certainly will. Unfortunate for him here as he tries to have a good finish to cap off the season, but unfortunately that will not happen here tonight for Robert Rose. Meanwhile, looking through the field right now, it is still currently Ian Simon, Chris Siborowski, who has pulled away from John Croak, about a 1.9 second lead between them and the top rest of the field right now as they work their way up to the Western Horseshoe here in the infield section of the course.
They continue to head off towards the other horseshoe, as it colloquially can be called if you're on the grounds at Daytona watching all the action here. Certainly not quite the fame as the International Horseshoe with the flags, but also very complicated on-corner entry, especially as you come out of the dog leg in the middle of the infield section. You quickly have to straighten the car out to make sure you hit the braking zone properly, and it's easy. Even if you come into that corner just a little bit sideways, very easy to lock up the brakes and send yourself off with the grass on the outside.
Certainly is. We will see drivers possibly throughout the night have those mistakes as they enter those corners here. But so far, everyone's making it through nice and cleanly. Right now, it's seeing if anybody can make it through the bus stop chicane. No problems as they now make their way through our top five, who's currently still making their way through. And surprisingly, it looks like now John Croak cut the course. He will receive another cut course penalty here at Daytona. Justin Moreno, he'll look to the outside to take the position away from John and move him up to P3.
No signs yet that Crook got any sort of time penalty for crossing over the curb, but now you see it. There it comes, the slow up in turn 4. They'll let the time go. So now Justin Moreno for Team Haggerty is going to jump into a podium position. And Ken Tubman, your winner of race number 2, is also in. Looks like Chris Pippin is coming down pit road for service, so he may be short pitting the strategy and trying to not count any sort of pit stops early. We'll see what happened with the 11 machine. But Moreno down there, as one car goes wide, it's Aaron Ambrosino who's going to lose about 5 or 6 positions off in the entrance to the infield portion of the racetrack.
Yeah, he overshot that turn 1 corner, which is very easy to do. Thankfully, with that run up, he was able to gather it back up, get back onto the racetrack, and not make contact with anybody, but he lost a ton of position, dropping all the way back to P9 right now as he tries to catch up to the 28 of the Rainbow Unicorn of Daniel Rubin.
We're coming in with all that white and that bright pink on his Porsche Cayman, but still chasing the 929 of Ed Eisenman.
As they continue on their way, they now make it up to the in and out section here, which is what I call the transition, which they transition up into the NASCAR section of the course, working their way up through the field.
Look at the field take. Eisenring pacing, Rubel, Tubman, Nielsen. Everybody really, I think, in this top 10, pretty well spaced out, save for Simon and Siborowski at the front, who are separated by maybe a car length at best. But they have gapped Justin Moreno, I think, primarily by virtue of the slowdown that John Crook had. He had that spot and would have filled that gap if not for the penalty that he had to take. So Moreno was able to get around him, but it also opened up the distance between Moreno and Siborowski. It's now up to 2 seconds between the 7.75 in second and Moreno's 8 car that rides in third.
Certainly is, and currently right now Justin Moreno is pretty much all by himself. He has about a 1 second advantage over Ken Tubman, who's getting a little bit of a help from Ken Nielsen. So the two Kens trying to work together to see if they can catch up to Justin Moreno, as Nielsen will go to the outside of Ken Tubman. They'll go side by side to get across the line. Who will get the position for P4? It looks like it's going to be Ken Tubman that time around over Ken Nielsen as they dive into turn 1. Look at the speed that Tubman tries to carry. Is he going to overshoot it? No, he will be able to keep it on to the main pavement of the race circuit. Goes a little wide as that allows Nielsen to maybe get to the inside, but Tubman pulls away to be able to hold on to that 4th position.
Tubman pulls away. Good work from the 42 machine. Nielsen there. Here comes Crook to the inside, trying to gain some of the track position that he lost off the slowdown penalty a few laps ago. And Eisenring just sitting behind these drivers, waiting to see who may slip up, who might make a mistake, who might open up the opportunity for the 929 to just slide on right through and right past.
so far, but he's now got to worry about Daniel Rubel right now, who is all over the back bumper of that 929 of Ed Icing-Ring as they come out of the Western Horseshoe. He tried to poke his nose on the outside, couldn't get close enough to make the pass work, but will continue on his way as they come up to turn 6, the in and out. Ooh, trouble up ahead. Ken Nielsen, John Croak make contact as Nielsen lost control of his Porsche, but is able to get it back straight away and turn it right around and back on the circuit. Continue on, but contact between those two drivers.
Did we not say, right as they came out of the International Horseshoe, that Icing-Ring was waiting for an opportunity to let these drivers in front of him make a mistake so that he might be able to jump on through? Because that's exactly what just happened to the 929. He saw Crook and Nielsen get together and Rubel and company, and he jumped ahead of all of them as they checked up on the entrance to NASCAR 1. So now Ed Icing-Ring holds that last spot in the top 5 after a really good 7th when they crossed the start-finish line to begin with this lap.
It certainly did, and now he's actually trying to catch up to the 27 of Ken Tubman right now, so those two will battle as John Croak was able to get around Daniel Rubel, but cut the course again, so he is going to fall back through the field once again, dropping outside the top 10 if he's not careful.
Nielsen has also picked up a black flag for his role in that incident. It's caused damage to a few of the cars around him. So Nielsen is going to have to come down pit road to serve his penalty. Meanwhile, Simon and Siborowski still right at the front of this. Moreno in 3rd. Tubman up to 4th. Icing-Ring up to 5th. Rubel to 6th. Then Ambrosino, Starkey, Jason Sherwood, and Jose Rivas in those flying bull lizard colors, I guess, on his cabin, shall we say. Last car in the top 10 as it stands.
Rivas trying to have a good finish tonight as the car is actually off in the circuit right now, coming back onto the circuit. That looked like to be Kim Frick in that number 66 in 31st position, having a tough night here as he has already been put a lap down and as well struggling to get his race car back going.
Really is fighting this as we look up and down the field. We'll try and find a few of the other good battles. J.R. Gregory and Jeff Rosenthal in a good battle in 14th and 15th. And before tonight started, had a few fun clues that we were fed and a few fun notes that I think were a lot of fun to keep track of. And we'll try and make sure that you all get the opportunity to hear about all the things that have come in and all the bits and pieces that we've learned over the course of this evening. J.R. Gregory is a Colorado native, currently resides in Portland, though. He races a Porsche 924S, the Pro 44 class, that tracks throughout the Pacific Northwest, and is a former president of the Cascade Sports Car Club, which is the oldest road racing organization up in the Pacific Northwest. I wanted to make sure that there was a special shout out given to his son Aiden and his brother-in-law Dan the Man in Seattle. Gregory holding it down, doing a very nice job for the Oregon region, currently running in 14th.
I think he just actually moves up to 13th right now as Brian Didinelli lost control of his car going through the bus stop chicane and will drop back to that 15th position right now, but still a great battle. Meanwhile, battle for 4th going on. Ken Tubman, Ed Icing-Ring, they're going to go side by side as they enter into turn number 1. Who will break first? Ooh, a slight bit of touching right there between the two drivers. Icing-Ring was able to get it back under control, but Ken Tubman will hold on to that 4th position. Here comes Daniel Rubel, though, to the inside as they try to go through turns 2 and 3, heading up to the International Horseshoe.
They'll dance to the International Horseshoe. Icing-Ring will hold Tubman off for the moment. And as they continue the battle, we'll remind you that tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing is brought to you by the Racing Analytics application, the Z1 Dashboard. The Z1 Dashboard shows everything you'll need to know about your position on track, your competitors' positions, and where you'll be after pit stops. The Z1 Dashboard can also tell you where your competition is, when you should pit, how much fuel you should take, and what the weather is like, so you can assign up to 10 different dashboards to each car. And then you can switch between them with the click of a button, so the required information is always at your fingertips. The latest version has just been released. It includes even more dashboards and the ability to use your iPhone, iPad, Android phone, or tablet, or any other device with a web browser as a display. To find out more about the Z1 Dashboard, visit www.z1dashboard.com. They are also offering a free sim racing software package to one PCA Sim Racing EDE student every Friday night. And our final winner of Series 5 is Chip Witt from the Redwood region, who's going to race in the PCA Sport class coming up next. The PCA Sim Racing EDE program provides all sorts of sim racing coaching, from drivers who are turning their first lap of the racetrack to the most seasoned of professionals. Sign up for the EDE program at PCASimRacing.com/EDE, and maybe in the future you might be the next one to win their software. 18 minutes left to go here in the first race of the evening, first race of 4, and great battling between Tubman, Eisenring, and Rubel, who will be wheel to wheel for that third spot coming across the line. But Eisenring's going to back out of it, and Rubel will go to his inside to take over the 4th spot, who then had to check up with that wide arc to make sure he didn't run into Tubman. But how intriguing is it, Taylor, that coming into the infield section and coming into turn 1, the way that quarter tightens up, it gives you the opportunity to run about 2 or 3 different lines to potentially make up time, depending on how you get into the brakes.
Of course, that's going to be the biggest factor is how well you get into turn 1. Turn 1 can set your lap of knowing if you're going to have a good lap or a terrible lap here at Daytona International Speedway with this circuit. It's very tricky, to be very easy, though, to make up a lot of ground as well as lose a lot of time. Unlike a driver right now who I just was looking through timing and scoring, Chris Siborowski, he's dropped all the way outside the top 10, or actually right outside the top 5 and 7th. He had a mistake last lap coming out of turn number 6, lost control of his race car, as that will now move Justin Moreno up to 2nd place. So the Haggerty driver is now making a run for the race lead right now, as he's got a little bit of time, though, to catch up to Ian Simon. He's 6 seconds back.
The Haggerty driver having a good run, which I know his friends at Haggerty won't complain about, but I think more importantly for Moreno, coming into tonight, there was a great battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th in class. And Siborowski and John Crook and Moreno were all pretty much right on top of each other. Crook came into tonight with a 12-point lead on both Siborowski and Moreno, who were tied for 4th entering this evening. So it's heads up between Moreno and Siborowski for 4th at least, but with the trouble that John Crooks had, he was only 12 points ahead of Moreno. So as it stands, Justin Moreno would jump up into the top 3 in points. We're going to interview all 3 of your top 3 finishers in points in each class, in addition to the race winner tonight. So extended post-race interviews, you're going to hear from a few more folks this evening, and also we're going to hear from our 4 winners of the Haggerty Driven to Excellence Award, special award from our friends at Haggerty that is going to be given out to one driver in each class at the end of the night. So pay attention to post-race. It's a little bit more special than it would be in most cases. And
well, trouble in the International Horseshoe right now. Ken Tubman and Daniel Rubel make contact, spinning each other out and making heavy contact to the front and rear of their Porsches right now. As we see, Ken Tubman is trying to get back onto the racing surface, trying to see if any other drivers were also involved. There's Daniel Rubel trying to get it looped back around, but both drivers losing a ton of time in position. I think Daniel Rubel's going to take it down pit road.
Rubel was black flagged for his role in that incident. Tubman is back to 10th, and that moves Ed Eisenring up into a podium position in this race. And as we approach halfway, we'll go ahead and bring you tonight's midway race break for the challenge class, which as always is brought to you by Haggerty. Since 1984, Haggerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and the lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Services include the Haggerty Drivers Club, Drive Share by Haggerty, The Shop, and much, much more to fuel car culture. Haggerty, let's drive together. The 87 machine of Ian Simon, who has been the man in this class all season long, looking to wrap up a class championship for the Mardi Gras region, currently runs in first, ahead of Justin Moreno in the 8 car. Ian Simon doing a nice job. Moreno out of the Western Michigan region of the PCA, not terribly far away from Haggerty's worldwide headquarters in Traverse City, Michigan, runs in the 2nd spot. Top driver for Team Haggerty in this class as well. Ed Eisenring for the Pacific Northwest region, which covers Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, a lot of the famous cities on the western side of Washington State. He runs in 3rd, 4th in this race. Belongs to Aaron Ambrosino, that almost MC Escher-esque checkerboard out of the Hudson Champlain region of New York State along the Hudson River Valley. 4th at this time in this race. 5th from the San Diego region in Southern California is Chris Siborowski, who has slid down just a little bit, but solid pace from him all night long. In the 6th spot, Jose Rivas, the Rizzitoto region, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Cradle of Liberty, where he calls home. And a solid run for Rivas tonight in 6th. 7th belongs to the 20 machine. That's Trip Starkey, our first driver from the Rocky Mountain region, which covers Denver, Cheyenne, Fort Collins, a little bit of the very western portion of Nebraska, and a little bit of Wyoming, too, in addition to Colorado. He's 7th. 8th, John Cook out of the Potomac region, a driver trying to fight for his spot on the podium and fight for an interview at the end of tonight as one of the top 3 in the challenge class in Series 5. He's 8th at the moment. 9th belongs to Jason Sherwood out of the Diablo region, which covers just east of San Francisco, Oakland, and the surrounding vicinity in the San Francisco Bay Area. 10th in this race is where you'll find Ken Tubman out of the Lone Star region after that contact with Daniel Rubel. Slid back a little bit, but still, top 10 run for Tubman as it stands.
Currently sitting in the 11th position is the 027 of Scott Ferris. Scott Ferris, of course, right now from the Oregon region, sits 7th in the point standings, having a great night here, running a top, or now just moved into the top 10. So as Jeff Rensenhall is currently in the 11th position, now moved up to, he started in 19th, so a great run for him here tonight. As we go a little bit back to the 13th position, we'll find Brian Giddinelli. Brian Giddinelli, of course, having a great run here tonight. Had a little bit of issues early on, but has made his way up through the field right now, currently sitting 13th. In the 14th position, you will find David Purdy, currently in that 010 car, as he is working his way down the front straightaway here at the Daytona Superstretch, as he works his way to catch up to Brian Giddinelli. In the 15th position, you will find the 999 of Olin Murphy, who has a great run here tonight. Currently started 24th, has worked his way up into the top 15 here tonight. As well, in 16th position, you'll find the 71 of Robert Benson. Robert Benson's from the Rensport region, currently sits 19th in the point standings. In 17th, you'll find Scott McSherry in that number 21. Scott's from the Eastern Buckeye region, currently sits 11th in the point standings right now, seeing if he can break into the top 10 before the championship. In 18th, you will find Ken Nielsen right now, as he has currently had a tough night. He was inside the top 5 early on, but after having some tough contact between him as well as a couple of other drivers, he has moved all the way back to the 18th position. He's already come down pit road to get some needed repairs done to his number 42 Porsche. In 19th, you'll find the 172 of Mark Granoff from the Lone Star region, currently trying to catch up to see if he can get into the 18th position, as he is about a second behind. And then rounding out your top 20 is the 996 of Abraham Jones, who's having a great job here tonight from the Allegheny region, 16th in the point standing, so a good night for him so far.
21st, Jim Hemming, the National Marketing Director for the Porsche Club of America. The Chesapeake region man coming from a group that includes Baltimore and Annapolis and the Maryland Eastern Shore, rides in 21st at this moment. 22nd, Edgar Bergshong out of the Northeast region. That's Boston, another city famous for its role in the American Revolution. But Bergshong in 22nd at this time of the final race of the season for the challenge class. 23rd is Michael Burgoyne, another solid run for the Oregon region, and doused in all sorts of green and gold for the Portland Timbers of Major League Soccer, former MLS Cup champions in 2015. John Bradley out of the Ohio Valley region runs in 24th. That region with some of the stranger geography in PCA. It runs right along the Ohio River Valley, and covers northern Kentucky, southern Ohio, parts of West Virginia as well. Bit of a fun one to draw on a map. Chris Pippen, red car for the man from Kansas City. It makes a decent amount of sense when you consider the champions of a certain important game that involves a certain egg-shaped ball. But Pippen in 25th at this time. 26 belongs to the 443 of Robert Rose from the Shenandoah region. That's Western Virginia State. You go from Charlottesville, draw a line to the west, and follow Interstate 81 up the Shenandoah Valley. That's home ground for Robert Rose after J.R. Gregory in 27th now after the pit stop. We talked about him a little bit ago. Well, another driver from the Oregon region having a really solid run. He just cleared Chris Pippen for spot 2, which means that we now turn our attention to 28 on the grid. That's where John Arcilla is. And Arcilla sitting a little bit further back in the field, but not terribly far off, as Pippen slid back a little bit, and Arcilla, the next one in line from the Maverick region of the PCA, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. You'll see them feature very heavily as we continue on into the E. 29th belongs to Andy McCune, who's a little bit stuck as you can see on your screens. Another one for the Rocky Mountain region. 29th belongs to Kim Frick out of the Niagara region, which covers the area right around Buffalo, upstate New York, where the weather beginning to drop, temperatures beginning to dip. Daniel Rubel and Scott Rogers, 2 drivers off the racetrack, scored in 31st and 32nd. And that concludes tonight's Midway Raceway for the Challenge class, which is brought to you by Haggerty. Let's drive together. Ian Simon still in control of this race. And while we have a moment to talk about it, I got a story from Ian Simon's father in the lead up to tonight, which I think is really, really entertaining to tell. So I'll share it for the class here watching our broadcast of the season finale for the Challenge class of PCA Sim Racing presented by Haggerty, especially since Simon is racing for a class championship tonight. Ian got his first Porsche, which was a 1987 944S, on his 16th birthday. It was a present from his father. He and his father restored the car, and then Ian got some one-on-one track experience with an instructor a year later and put together a DE car, also a 944 that same year. The following year, or 3 years on now, he raced a local series at their local track at the time, which is No Problem Raceway, and he won a Red Bracket Championship there. And then, in that same year, Ian's father became friends with Wes Dillard, who, if you all watched the virtual California Festival of Speed back in April, you'll know is the chair on the National Committee for PCA Club Racing. Did a favor for Wes at the PCA event, that was the same track. And then when Ian became serious about racing in PCA, they went to Texas World Speedway over in College Station, Texas, also where Texas A&M University is presently sitting. And they groom people at TWS. And if you really want to race, it's a good place to learn, especially if you're in Eastern Texas. So West repaid the favor that Ian's father had paid West, and Wes Dillard became Ian's mentor for the entire weekend at Texas World Speedway and pushed him around that racetrack. Ken LeBourne, who has also been a PCA committee chair in the past, noted how great Ian was and signed both Ian and his father off for PCA race licenses. And it got to the point where it was just really hard for the Simons to keep up with 2 race cars. And in fairness, and I give credit to Ian's father, he was faster, was Ian, than his dad. So Ian's dad made the noble decision to support Ian's effort. And so now they build all their cars, engine, transmission, roll cages, body, paint. And his sim paint scheme is based directly off of his real SP2 944 race car that he runs in PCA Club Racing. Out of the roughly 10 tracks they visit in a normal year, mostly in the South, he owns track records for an 8-round 944 at 6 of them. He was second in the SP2 North America PCA Club Racing points several years ago. So, bit of a story there, which is all to say that Ian Simon has experience not only in the sim, but also in real life and has plenty of speed. And we know how fast the Q Cup drivers have been throughout this year and this season, especially in this challenge class. And they are fighting for a 1, 2, 3 this evening, but Simon is the Pied Piper of that group. And it's a very simple situation for him so far as the points are concerned. Coming in tonight as the points leader, all he has to do, win the race, and he could even slip back a little bit if he wanted to, but he'll be the champion if he can hold on to this spot.
But he certainly deserves this championship. I mean, looking over the last 7 races prior to tonight, he's picked up not 1, not 2, but 5 wins. He's only lost 2 races out of the 7 races that were run prior to tonight's race. And what a dominating performance he had here all season long. He is definitely worthy of being crowned the Challenge Class champion.
You look at his run, it is the most dominant out of anyone in any of the Series 5 classes. If he wins this race, it will be 6 wins on the season, and then a second place finish, and then 1 wayward finish in the second race of the year at Mosport, where he got caught up with a lap car and spun off over in the hairpin on the far side of the racetrack. But outside of that, it has been just about flawless from Ian Simon. He won the season opener at Laguna Seca, got it done at Barber, got it done at Road Atlanta, was victorious in the 6th race of the season, was victorious at Suzuka, Watkins Glen in there too. he can hang on here for about 3.5 minutes, he's going to add Daytona to that list and a Challenge Class championship with that.
Now the question is going to be, what will he do? What will happen to him next season? Will we see him work his way up probably to club, or will he go up to the next class instead? I mean, I'm really interested to see what he can do in the pro class just by how dominant he is.
It would be intriguing. It definitely would be intriguing, but that's going to be up to the EDE team and the administrators that are associated with the steering committee of PCA Sim Racing, who individually placed all of these drivers, some 250 plus, into these 4 different classes that you're going to see tonight. So they will ultimately judge where Ian Simon belongs, and they will place him into whatever class they feel is appropriate. I think the only certainty for next year is that we know that Ian Simon is not going to be returning to the challenge class after the way he has put on a show for everyone in this class's races throughout Series 5.
Could not agree with you more on that, James. As he is coming around, he should be taking the white flag, not this time around, but at least the next time by here, as he is currently just coming out of the International Horseshoe, so we should be seeing the white flag momentarily for him this next time by.
You would think white flag would be up next time by. Ed Eisenring sitting in second and Justin Moreno in third, which is all he needs to see. Moreno fighting for a spot on the podium in the class standings. Ken Tubman looks pretty safe to go second, especially as he runs 8th right now. We're keeping our eyes out in particular for one very specific John Crook, who has not had the best of nights. He's currently scored in 17th, and that I don't think would be enough to keep Crook in the top 3. So as it stands, it should be Ian Simon, Ken Tubman, and Justin Moreno that you're going to hear from in just a bit, in addition to the winner of the Haggerty Driven to Excellence Award that will also go out to one driver in the challenge class once this race is complete.
Certainly is, and we're looking forward to meeting with all the drivers here tonight to talk about how they did this season, what they look forward to the next one, as well as this race, this championship that they had the opportunity to compete in.
Entertaining, I think, to say the least, is Moreno's got Rivas and Trip Starkey in tow. Not too much to worry about, though, as Ian Simon is ahead of Ed Eisenring by about 9 seconds. It's a healthy gap for the 87 machine, who is 1 lap away from his 6th win of the season, but more importantly, the class title as well. Ian Simon takes the white flag at Daytona. 1 more lap in this challenge class race presented by Haggerty.
What a dominating drive Ian Simon has had all season long. I mean, like we've brought out, only 2 races he did not finish inside the race win. Other than that, the other time was a 2nd place, and then one that was outside the top 15 for the most part after that incident he had at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So a dominating performance. Looking forward to see what his future will bring here in the PCA Sim Racing Series.
Plenty of races in the future, I think, for Ian Simon. Something that you're absolutely going to want to watch. This driver out of the Mardi Gras region of the PCA, which covers the area around New Orleans in particular, only has the NASCAR banking left to go to wrap up title number 1 in PCA Sim Racing. And you want to talk about a good story that illustrates the crossover between iRacing and the real world. It's the real world experience that Simon has more of, but those skills have translated to the sim racing side as well. It's all Ian Simon coming out of NASCAR 2 for the last time.
Here they come down the back straightaway once again, heading to the bus stop chicane for the final time. Hits his braking marks, hits the curbs perfectly. No cut course penalty for him. Smooth sailing as he comes up to the banking of NASCAR 3 and 4.
Ian Simon, 5 wins so far in this season, a 2nd place, 1 finish outside of 1st or 2nd all season long, and that is not going to change here. Ian Simon brings it down to the start-finish line, and he will win his 6th race of Series 5, but more importantly, Ian Simon is the Challenge Class champion for Series 5 of PCA Sim Racing, presented by Haggerty. The 87 machine for Q-Cup Racing gets it done, and Ian Simon has his first title in PCA Sim Racing.
What a drive indeed, as Ed Eisenring also come across the finish line. Justin Moreno was able to hold off a hard-charging Jose Rivas and Trip Starkey to round out your podium positions. Looking through the field right now, Ken Tubman was managed to take home the 8th position, so he will probably finish second in the point standings after that run here tonight.
Solid work, as we'll see a few more of these drivers come across the line. Chris Zaborowski finished in the 9th position, so he'll lose that spot to Moreno. He and Moreno came into tonight tied on points. As you'll recall, John Crook is the next one that we're looking for here. It didn't look like it was a great run for John Crook either, down in 27th. So it will be all Justin Moreno, and the man that you heard from right off the top of the broadcast is going to be a man that you'll hear from in just a few moments as well, because that should lock up third in the challenge class standings for Series 5 to Moreno and his 8 machine.
Looking through the field right now, a couple of other drivers we need to bring out who had great runs tonight. I believe this is his first start for the season in the PCA competition. Jeff Rosenthal coming home in 7th place after starting just right around the top 20. So a good run for him. Ambrosino was 6th place finish tonight. Ken Nielsen, even after the contact he had, was able to rebound up to a 10th place finish. So a great effort for them here tonight.
Rosenthal indeed comes in and runs one race in the challenge class, but puts on a solid finish out of the Yosemite region of the PCA in Northern California. Gets it done and finishes in 7th as Michael Bourgoin, John Bradley, Brian Ginninelli and company wrap up things, and means we are now just all done and dusted and ready to go with the full field rundown, as Ian Simon will bring it across the grass and celebrate the race victory and the class title. Ian Simon, race winner once again, 6 out of 8. A very, very sound, solid season for that 87 Porsche Cayman out of Q-Cup Racing. No, TV?
Pretty much a very strong performance indeed, and looking forward to bringing him up into the booth to chat with him here momentarily.
You are going to hear... Yep, you're going to hear from Ian Simon, our other 2 finishers on the podium in the final class standings, and then the Haggerty Driven Excellence Award winner as well in just a few moments for this challenge class presented by Haggerty. Let's drive together. Ian Simon, your race winner over Ed Eisenring. Justin Moreno will finish both third in this race and in the final standings for the challenge class. 4th goes to Jose Rivas. Trip Starkey finished in the 5th position. 6th was Aaron Ambrosino. Jeff Rosenthal came home in 7th. Ken Tubman in the 27 car finished 8th, 9th. The 775 of Chris Zaborowski and Ken Nielsen finished in the 10th position.
Robert Benson will come home in 11th position, followed by David Purdy in 12th position. Jason Sherwood will come home in the 13th position, followed by Abraham Jones in 14th. Jim Hemig will come home with a 15th finish after starting 30th place, so a great run for him tonight. Scott McSherry will be coming home in 16th position. Anker Bergson will come home in 17th, followed by Michael Bourgoin in 18th. 19th goes to John Bradley, as Scott Ferris will finish 20th, the last car on the lead lap.
21st, first car one lap down was Brian Ginninelli. Robert Rose finished in 22nd. 23rd tonight went to J.R. Gregory, and Olin Murphy finished in 24th. 25th went to Pippin. Kim Frick finished in 26th. 27th to John Crook. Mark Cranoff 28th. 29th, Andrew McCune. John Arcilla was 30th. Daniel Rubel. Scott Rogers, the final 2 drivers in our 32-car field for the season finale of the challenge class, as we now bring in our race winner, our champion, Ian Simon, who is with our Taylor Burris.
Ian Simon, we are here. Congratulations. Not only did you win the race, but you have clinched the championship here for the challenge class. How do you feel?
Oh. Sorry, guys. iRacing chat got me. Hang on a second.
It's okay. Take your time. So, do you got us now?
Okay, I got you now.
It gets tricky.
Okay.
All right. Well, first and foremost, congratulations on winning not only tonight's race, but you are now the champion of the PCA Sim Racing Challenge class. How do you feel?
Pretty good. I didn't think this was going to be the outcome for sure when we started this, 8 weeks ago now. So, since about the halfway point, just planned on being consistent, and looks like that's paid off.
I mean, certainly consistency has paid off for you. I mean, 6 out of the 8 races run, you came on the top step of the podium here tonight. So, I mean, that consistency definitely came into play. Were you any bit concerned throughout the season about not having this chance to win the championship?
Yeah, I mean, there was obviously some quick guys in there, due to bad luck or, whatever happened to him. Chris was giving me a tight race here for the first, 5-6 laps or so. And then I don't know what happened to him. I just saw him disappear from out of my mirror. But, there was definitely times where we had some quick guys right there pushing me hard. And I guess the consistency paid off,
With that, Ian, one of the questions I'm going to be asking now is, what are you looking forward to when you come back for Series 6?
Sorry, missed you again.
Oh,
Race control popped in.
It's okay. The question I was going to ask was, what can we expect when we see you at Season 6, if you're making that return?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see where I'm going to be. First off, I don't know who we're going to be racing with yet. I'm sure there's going to be a shuffle, and it'll be interesting driving a different car. I saw Spas on the list, so definitely looking forward to that. Just a little shake up, so we'll see how it goes. I don't think it's going to be quite as smooth as this season was.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in next season in Series 6. We just want to let you know as well, you are the champion. So who would you like to say thank you to before we let you go and celebrate? I'm pretty sure it's going to be Mardi Gras style for you around your home tonight for this championship.
Just everybody, wife taking care of the kids while I'm racing for the last 8 weeks. Q Cup guys, we've been, doing a lot of practicing and spotting for each other through the series and looking after each other. So just thanks to those guys, and thanks to PCA for putting this on, and you guys for doing such a good job with the coverage.
All right. Well, we have one more award to give out to you, and that is you are now given the award of the Driven to Excellence powered by Hagerty as well. So you pretty much got the clean sweep award as well, probably tonight, with winning the race, the championship, and now the Driven to Excellence powered by Hagerty.
Thanks, guys.
All right. That is Ian Simons, your champion from the Mardi Gras regions, and James Pike has caught up with Ken Tubman.
Plenty of fun, I think, for Ian Simons to have. And also of note, all drivers who finish on the podium in the final class standings for each of our 4 classes, Challenge, Sport, Club, and Pro, are going to come away with Hagerty Drivers Club memberships as well. You get a whole host of extra perks from Hagerty, because these are also VIP Drivers Club memberships too. So you can log on to Hagerty's website for more information about those, but plenty of fun to be had, I think, for all the folks who end up on the podium, as we will now bring in our second place finisher in the point standings. Ken Tubman now joins us up in the booth, and Ken had a solid run this evening, ends up coming home in the 8th spot, which was enough to lock down P2, and it was P2 in the final standings, a victory in Race 2 at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. When you look back on this season, Ken, first season with the Cayman for PCA Racing, what stands out to you the most? Crickets are what stand out the most, it would seem. Is we'll let Ken get himself sorted and get ready to go. But while he sorts himself out, a few notes here on this challenge class in particular. 41 different drivers competed in the challenge class over the course of the year.
For me, it was just a matter of learning the car and then trying to be consistent as much as I could. I knew, chasing guys like Ian on the Q Cup team, I knew I wasn't going to beat him, but just trying to finish well.
You look at this challenge class, and I know there's been a lot to work with. How much have you learned, and what do you take away in that sense as you look forward to Series 6 next year? Few more crickets then, I suppose, as we'll let Ken continue to get himself sorted. But I think the most intriguing thing here, TB, of all the drivers that race in this challenge class, only 5 of them only showed up for one race and then left. Every
First competed in the challenge class over the course of the year.
let Ken get himself sorted and fix his technical difficulties, and we'll see how it goes. But again, TB, how amazing is that only 5 drivers showed up for one race and then stopped? Everybody showed up for our multiple events, and over 25% of the field competed in all 7 events leading up to tonight, and 27 out of those 41 drivers raced in at least 5 of the 7 events. So
that just shows the commitment that these drivers have to this championship and to the PCA. I mean, that's what we appreciate to all the drivers in this class and throughout all the classes that we're going to be seeing here tonight, is that they have the same love that we do, the love of motorsports, and of course all things Porsche. And you can't go wrong with those situations for these drivers here tonight. But we still got a couple more races to go here tonight.
Do have a couple more races to go here tonight, and we'll let you all know for the first time tonight, but not for the last time this evening, that we are going to have some more fun in 2021, and we can announce that there will be 3 different programs for PCA Sim Racing in the new year. The first is an expansion of what you know and what you love. PCA Sim Racing expands to the zones in 2021, and you can learn more about the grassroots spread of PCA Sim Racing for zones and for PCA regions at pcasimracing.com/zone-groups. Also new in 2021, we'll have a PCA Sim Racing Endurance Series that will start January 15th, the day before the traditional iRacing Roar before the 24 at Daytona International Speedway. That new Sim Racing Endurance Series will be for 2 driver teams. It will be 3-hour events that will feature the Porsche 911 RSR, and then we can announce that the 911 GT3 Cup car returns. We go back to the roots of PCA Sim Racing when Series 6 of PCA Sim Racing comes your way starting in April. Of course, plenty of EDE will be on hand for all of these programs. There's going to be plenty of help that you can get if you need to from James Huth and company down that line. They do an excellent job with the EDE program, but you want to stick around for PCA Sim Racing in 2021. Cars are not real, but the racing is. We'll see if we can get Ken fixed up, but for now, we'll let Taylor Burris chat with the driver who finished 3rd in the standings. Justin Moreno is now with us, and he is with Taylor Burris.
Here with Justin Moreno coming home P3 in tonight's race, and also P3 in the championship race here this season. Justin, how do you feel with all this racing going on?
Sweaty, tired, and relieved.
That's usually a good sign. You put in a hard night's work of racing here at Daytona International Speedway. How was the conditions on track for you?
Early on, it was, it felt good. Tires were sticky. Even early on, I was really impressed. The setup that I had been using, I think was really conducive to keeping it on the track. But, whatever I had done with the setup, I think it got a little bit more squirrely as the evening went on and the rubber got hot.
Well, we also noticed that you had a tight battle towards the end with Jose Rivas and Trip Starkey. Were you feeling a little nervous when they were catching up to you on those closing laps?
No, not at all. I had a bigger picture in mind. I don't know if you saw, but like Ed was giving me pressure, and I'm like, the series, podium is what I know I'm chasing. I had done a little bit of analytics before the race, so I knew what needed to happen to a couple other racers. And so, Ed, please feel free, and Jose, I just got a little bit lucky there at the end. Both drove really well and kept a ton of pressure on me.
They certainly did. Now, what do we look forward to seeing you with next season? Not only, of course, with you, Justin, with racing, but also with Haggerty.
I think we're gonna, try to find more and more ways to get involved. That we really love the partnership that we have with PCA. They've always been a good partner to us, and we're going to keep looking for ways to work, more closely together. I can't give away too many secrets.
Understood.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. I said understood.
Yeah, but yeah, we are in conversations, and I think there's something big coming. So,
all right. Well, Justin, before we let you go, who would you like to say thank you to and go and celebrate your victory here up in your hometown, up in the Western Michigan region?
Honestly, I'm gonna give a big shout out to my better half, Jessica, my wife, my daughter Jackie. They put up with all the training and late nights and evening texts from the rest of Team Haggerty. So they put up with it, and I'm still happily married. So other than that, just huge appreciation to Hemig, Doug from PCA, all the other drivers, Eon challenging us and pushing us to be better. Tubman, man, you and I were battling, it felt like most of the season, and Chris and Ed and all the other drivers just really love everything you guys did.
All right. And of course, one more thing about right quick, if we can, what about the VIP Drivers Club? What can you tell are those for the championship who are going to be competing for this rest of the races here up ahead?
So I think we're, Haggerty's going to save a little bit of money, because we're going to be giving them to the top three, the podium finishers for all four classes. Luckily for me, Haggerty employee, I'm already a member. But as mentioned, I know in the beginning of the race or pre-race show, there's a lot of great benefits for Haggerty Drivers Club. The top three drivers from all four classes are going to get not only our award-winning magazine, Haggerty Insider, but just a ton of other benefits, which I know were covered at length, and I don't want to delay you guys moving off to the next event.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Justin. Congratulations on your podium finish and in both the race and in the championship. Go celebrate with your family.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night and good luck.
Thank you. That is Justin Moreno coming home P3 in tonight's race and in the championship. And James, we now got to get ready for the next race.
Time to turn our attention to the second race of the evening. You're right. So we will step aside. If you are on YouTube and you're on PCA Sim Racing's channel, slide down and hit that blue circle at the bottom left. Once you come out of the full screen view, go back to the PCA Sim Racing channel and go click on the Sport Class video presented by Leland West. That's our next race coming up. If you are on Twitch or you are on Facebook or even Twitter, you're good to go. Don't go anywhere. We'll have more for you momentarily as we leave our challenge class presented by Haggerty for Series 5. A tremendous thanks to Haggerty for all their support, not only throughout PCA Sim Racing, but especially in this challenge class. And for more information, of course, head to Haggerty.com. Haggerty, let's drive together. We'll be back with more coverage of the season finale from PCA Sim Racing right after this. The Sport Class is up next.